Thank you to Studio Sweden Headphones for sponsoring this episode of Film Fracas. Guys, don't we love our friends over at Studio Sweden?
We do.
We do.
Those Swedes know how to make a good headphone.
They do. They sent us 2 pairs of their Regent on-ear studio headphones, and Brett and Phoenix have been playing around with them for a few days, and they absolutely love them.
Yeah, I got the white pair. Brett has the black pair.
They're not noise canceling, but they feel like they're noise canceling because I cannot hear a thing besides what I'm listening to.
The sound quality's great. It's stylish. It's comfortable.
They're Bluetooth and wired. Which
is actually really helpful. One for recording this, and 2 just to use on my regular day-to-day.
It's real nice.
They
Currently,
come in a number of stylish colors.
Yeah.
Not just white and black.
The number is 2.
Yes, black or white.
Oh, never
both,
mind. It is just white.
Both stylish.
Very, very much designed with the consumer in mind, and I really appreciate that.
Currently, the headphone market only offers you one of 2 things, style or technology. And these headphones absolutely give you what you need in each of those categories. If you want to get your own pair of Studio Regents or any of the other great pairs of headphones that they offer, go to studio.com right now and buy yourself a pair. And when you get to that little part at the end, put in discount code FilmFracas and you'll get 15% off your purchase just for listening to the show. What a steal. What a steal.
Fantastic. You know what?
Fracas?
I'll take it.
There you go. But there you go. Studio headphones, studio.com. Enter code FilmFracas to get 15% off any purchase you make on their website. It helps us out. It helps Studio Sweden out.
All caps?
All caps.
Yep.
All one word.
All one word.
It's
Yep.
Film Fracas. Like you're screaming it all at once.
Film Fracas.
But anyway, that's great. Help support the show. Help support Studio Headphones. We love them so much. Thank you for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. Now, on with the show. Previously on Film Fracas.
A returning special guest, Graham Hellboy Gora.
Are they all one note? Yes. Here's the thing.
I would say a lot of them are a lot like the animatronics that inspired them, of course.
Did you know that Flotsam and Jetsam are actually King Triton's 2 exiled sons?
No.
And that's why you never hear about them? Ooh, I'm intimidated. So King Triton outlawed music, and it's essentially The Little Mermaid meets Footloose.
Yago.
Yago. God, that's cool carpet.
The Ocean Moana is off-brand carpet from Aladdin.
Yes.
Yes. All rats are men and all mice are female.
Tron?
Come on, baby.
Brett
computer
doesn't
in
know what a
sight.
computer is.
Do winners and losers. My winner for this week is probably Aladdin.
I am just going to jump off that and say my favorite as well is Aladdin.
Atlantis. My favorite is also Aladdin.
It's gotta be Aladdin.
My vote is going to ultimately go to Tron.
I gotta say Pirates of the Caribbean.
For this week, I think we gotta de-res Tron.
I gotta give it to Tron.
It's gotta be Pirates of the Caribbean for me.
I would like to think that someone just got rid of Tron, but actually what happened is someone just picked up a computer and threw it out the window.
And now, on with the show.
Welcome to the show, everybody. What's up? It's me, Robbie DeShazer, here with another great episode of Film Fracas. Guys, I'm so excited to be back in our normal recording place, but I'm not the only one here. With me, as always, I've got Phoenix, the party Zamboni Zarola.
Hello.
Carter, the whole effing show Spilliards.
How's it going?
And Brett, featuring himself on other people's podcasts, The Rock Johnson. What is up, everybody?
Happy to be here.
Yeah, talk about that real quick, Brett. So today when we're recording this, which is May 23rd, a brand new episode of the Demon Trash podcast came out with you on it?
Yes. My friends over at the Demon Trash podcast, you can find them on SoundCloud and iTunes, find them on social media at Demon Trash Podcast. They invited me on the show. I was happy to be there, and it was just 3 20-somethings there talking about life, from memes to movies to debates about whether the first Harry Potter movie is a Christmas movie. It is not, by the way.
No, it's not.
Regardless of what you hear on that podcast. But yeah, that was their 3rd episode that was released today. Go check them out. They're good people.
All right.
Yeah, and if any of you are Team Brett fans, hashtag Team Brett, you want to check them out.
Thanks, Phoenix.
But yeah, This isn't the podcast where we talk about what other podcasts we've been on, though. This is Film Fracas, and this is episode 4 of season 2.
Hey.
What? Disney version.
Disney edition.
Disney.
What movies have we got left? Carter?
Well, I'll tell you. We have 5 movies left. We have Aladdin,
Yes.
Atlantis Lost Empire,
Very good.
Beauty and the Beast,
I love it.
The Little Mermaid, and we're rocking with Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse the Black Pearl.
All right.
Shouldn't it be We're Sailing?
We're rocking on the waves.
And we're rocking on
You know, don't rock the boat
Don't
here.
rock the boat.
In the pirate
Oh, baby.
ship.
There-
Pirate ship.
There are
What are
some-
you doing?
Doing Yellow Submarine.
It is amazing that we have
Oh, whatever.
Anyway.
three of our 5 films remaining are water-based.
Yes.
And one is absent of water based.
One is absent of water, yes.
Now there's a fountain in it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
There's the fountain that Jasmine and Raja play
True,
at.
true.
And Beauty and the Beast has snow, so that is a water-based precipitation.
But yeah, last week.
100% of these films are 70% water.
Exactly.
But yeah, last week Tron got voted off and got kicked out of the castle. Did not have the best side characters, unfortunately. But this week, we're not talking about side characters. We are talking about best story.
All right.
Story.
Story.
Carter,
Yeah,
explain, like, go into detail
about story.
what we're talking
so,
about.
this is actually not dissimilar from when we talked about story last season.
So we're gonna make a bad call.
Yes.
Would not be surprised.
So we're talking about all things story. What is the movie about? What happens? What's the plot? You know, is it interesting? Is it good? How does it compare to the others? We're gonna fracas it out, man. It's
All
gonna be
right.
an exciting time.
It will be a time.
It will be a time
Exciting
place
can
that
be
we-
judged by you.
that we experienced.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Well, all right, let's dive in here. Let's play the fracas.
All
it.
right.
What is our first movie?
I think I'm gonna go backwards order from what's on my list here. Let's start with a classic, as all of these are, but this is maybe one of the most classic. Beauty and the Beast.
What could this be about? I don't know. Perhaps Beauty and
The Beast.
the Beast.
It's
All
a
right,
story
what's
about
next?
a
That's it.
candlestick that
What's
just wants to get laid.
That's true.
I think the story is really good.
Yeah. It's very classic.
It's very classic.
A tale as old as time.
Yeah.
A song as old as rhyme.
Yeah, we talked about it last semester, or not last semester. Last episode. Sorry, I am a new graduate, by the way.
This is not a. This show has never been divided into semesters.
Yeah. Last episode, we talked a little bit about how I like the stakes of this movie, and I think it kind of ties into the side characters where everyone living there is kind of a representation of what is the problem and what needs to be solved, and they're kind of victims of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that there's stakes beyond just their relationship, which I think is
Yeah.
really well done.
So one thing I think we've talked about it in the past with this movie, maybe in episode, the first episode when we talked about Gaston and how he's kind of the flip side of what like your Prince Charming would be for, you know, a standard Disney movie. But other than, and I think this movie often gets praised as being kind of a flipping of what like you would see in like a Cinderella or something.
When like
And I would say it's maybe not necessarily that. Like
Yeah.
it
is and it isn't. I would say it's
this
not.
is something I've been struggling with
No,
when thinking about
'cause
this movie.
I would say it's not when you look at the characters individually because they're characterized differently. Bella's a very strong, independent female character. And then you have the Beast, who is definitely not a Prince Charming, and you have Gaston, who is not a Prince Charming, and then the Beast is Prince Charming in the end. But he's not for the majority of the movie.
Right.
And you have a lot of just everyone in the movie isn't quite the role that they would normally fit in, but overall, when you look at the movie, it is, you know,
Yeah, the
they're gonna
parental
fall in
figure
love.
is the parental figure's not evil in this
yeah,
one.
but they're gonna fall in love. They do. They live happily ever after. So it can only be so different, but I would say compared to maybe some other Disney movies, especially ones we might talk about today, this one does do a little bit more to change the formula.
It's the same overall fairy tale structure. It just it just flips the tropes around a little bit.
I dare say that's maybe what all of our films are today, are the kind of fairy tale structure.
That's kind of the Disney model.
It's kind of the Disney model, so I don't... It's difficult. It's just who does it better than others, basically.
Right.
Yeah, and there's still differences that we could still talk about.
Yeah, no,
and
definitely.
stuff. I would say, and I'm just bringing this up for the poll of the room, if one quick thing to think of, there's a bit of that issue with Beauty and the Beast and having it being seen as like a Stockholm Syndrome movie, because
it's not
of the princess being, I guess, abused,
I don't know. I kind of
and
buy
then
the Stockholm
eventually
Syndrome thing.
eventually falling in love. Yeah, we can discuss that now.
I say it's not Stockholm Syndrome. It's getting to know somebody. He lets her leave, and then she comes back. The fact that he lets her leave and she chooses to come back kind of shows that it's not Stockholm Syndrome. And it's like, yes, like when she first gets there, he's like, yeah, like you will trade spots with your father to be the prisoner, but he gives her pretty much free reign of the entire castle, just except for the West Wing. And so it's like she can't leave, but like I wouldn't necessarily say she's like a prisoner in the traditional sense who falls in love with her captor. She learns more about the beast and she learns like what's going on, and I see it as more of just two people learning about each other and one person changing for the better because of it. It's not, oh, this person captured me, I'm in love with him now kind of thing.
Yeah.
I never really have thought of the Stockholm Syndrome thing either. Kind of what you said, because she at any point, I mean, he initially puts her in the cell, but then she gets let out, and she at any point could have left.
He did swipe at her.
That's true.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
he learns to be better.
Yeah, I'm not saying he doesn't start as a hostile captor,
because that is his character.
That's his character. But I'm saying
like the crux of the story.
Yeah,
because Stockholm Syndrome kind of implies that she could never have left.
Well, she really still couldn't have left. Like,
I mean, she at any point could have walked out the door. He wasn't holding her.
Yeah, it's not like he was gonna like go out and kill her if she tried to leave.
No, but when she does, I guess she leaves the one time and gets but when she leaves to go save her dad or whatever, like he gives her permission to leave, like implying that she still couldn't really have left before then.
That's true.
Like he's like, go, like, yeah, he's gotten soft and probably would have let her leave at any point in there, but like there's still an implied like power dynamic there.
I saw that as more of like his, like he was starting to change, and like you have the whole song, like Something There, where they both kind of realize like, oh, we have some kind of connection. And so I saw that as more of like, oh, it's not like the power dynamic, it's more of the like him like reluctantly being like, yes, you know my situation, I know my situation, but like it's okay for you to go. There are things more important than me right now, and I understand that. Not so much as like, oh, that's right, I am your captor.
Yeah,
I have the power. My permission to leave. I thought it was more of like, it's all about the subtext. Is that the
this would be like just a preferred reading versus a mediated reading of some kind. Not quite an oppositional, but like a like the way that Disney wants you to see it is that he's grown as a character and that he
which, but yeah, I can understand your point of view, but.
Yeah,
I disagree with it.
I also don't think that it necessarily makes it a poorer story for it.
No, it's just one of those things, like the bad Disney theories. It just like really grinds my gears. It's just kind of like it's not Stockholm Syndrome.
Well, it's not really a theory. It's more just like someone having bad messages.
I say it's like on that same level as those Disney theories, where like it's just like I'm just like, no, it's dumb.
Oh, that doesn't grind my gears.
It is a Disney theory. I'm just like, it's not Stockholm Syndrome. Why would you say that? Like Tarzan and Elsa are not related. Why would you say that?
Right. I was gonna say Tarzan and Elsa gets me more than this.
They're in that sphere of like, no, it's dumb. Why would you say that?
Yeah.
But it's also obviously not intended for that purpose. Like they could make a movie about Stockholm Syndrome and do it more explicitly. This is just people having too much time on their hands to read into a children's movie.
Yeah.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's take on Aladdin.
Aladdin. All right.
Okay.
What is this movie about? It's about a
Aladdin.
guy who gets thrown in jail and then hoodwinked into finding an omnipotent genie, and then he falls in love, and then has to beat the bad guy.
Yeah, that's I guess the plot version of it. Yeah.
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 It's not. This one's not quite as complex.
Yeah, it's not like
this one is much more
This one is
straightforward.
very
there's
straightforward.
not
This-
really a layer to
This
it.
is very much more guy gets girl, happily ever after.
This one's very. It's very circumstantial too, because if he hadn't been in certain places where he was, or if he had like denied Jafar in the jail cell, or at any point in time, the story just wouldn't have occurred. It was just because the circumstances
Well,
happened. how
even
they
then,
did.
like if Aladdin hadn't bumped into Jasmine in
In
the
the
marketplace.
Yeah. So this one's a lot more. Yeah, like
Yeah, I mean,
Convenient.
we can't dwell on that too much, because you could just say like, oh well, if Belle wasn't forced to go into the house or something. Like when you get to that circumstantial, it just
Yeah.
Well,
you could apply that. You could apply circumstance to a lot of movies. I get what you're saying.
That's true.
I get what you're saying. He's not the most like. There's not a lot of active stuff that he
Yeah.
does, and there's no other layer.
Yeah.
But when you get into like too much like nitpickiness of that,
that's true.
it can just be applied to everything.
I would just say Aladdin is more at fault for that than maybe some
Yeah.
other movies.
So one thing
Maybe,
one thing
maybe.
I would fault this for is the fact that the genie is. I mean, a genie's convenient. Like we're not. I know it's like a part of the.
It's kind of
story.
a built-in Deus Ex Machina anyway.
But like the fact that, the genie's there to move the story along at will. Like
Yeah.
They could have spent more time in the Cave of Wonders, but because Aladdin he tricks him into giving him an extra wish and getting them out of there. And then, they could have spent a lot of time, Aladdin could have tried to go woo Jasmine and it doesn't work, and so he comes back. He could have come back before he goes to the genie, but a lot of it's just like, hey genie, this is the problem I perceive that I have, and oh great, it's fixed now,
Yeah, I mean, even just the opening with the merchant selling the lamp, it kind of sets it up to be like, this is just a story. Like, there's not really much layers to it. There's nothing like, there's no really big ending, unless, I don't know, you could maybe draw friendship or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, because he gives the genie.
Because it gives the genie freedom.
Yeah, but that would be a stretch. It's really just like,
Right.
this is a tale.
Yeah. And, and some of the motivations, like Jafar's
Yeah, we talked
bit
about that in the first episode.
bad.
I mean, Jafar wants power, and
He
that's
wants
great.
power, and that's pretty much it. And, like, really the whole movie, the whole reason that Aladdin has to do the whole Prince Ali is because everyone's concerned with Jasmine having to marry a prince.
Because that's the
Yeah.
law of the land.
And it's like, that's just what that whole area is kind of... It's just a little difficult to...
Yeah. Well, because he doesn't even really have to fight for Jasmine
Yeah.
to like him. There's no...
They just have that instant connection.
Which is great. I mean,
Yeah, it's fine.
we can't fault love at
No.
first sight. That's a big
No,
Disney thing.
I wasn't
No,
not at all.
I'm not trying to say that either. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
we start getting into the territory where we're like, it's love at first sight. What are we going to do about that? And it's like, well,
Yeah.
a lot of these Disney movies are going to have
I mean, if we want
instances
to...
of that.
If we want to like talk like give it one, I guess, credit or talk some positivity for it, it is kind of, I like that it's about like, it's a movie about this kind of nobody who kind of ends up saving the day in terms of like stopping like great force of evil. Granted, he has such a powerful thing on his side, but that feels very classic Disney to me.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
nobody or the person who
Yeah,
no one
the-
expects to like overcome. It's
The Cinderella story.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will give
Exactly.
credit that kind of the final confrontation is not... I mean, Aladdin does end up outsmarting Jafar there.
He does.
Like, they could have very easily, come up with some way for Aladdin to get around him not being the genie's master. And, they could have come up with some way for him to wish Jafar away. And he does outwit him there.
That's true.
So for all the talk of, Aladdin not being super active. He
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
No,
make
I
the
mean,
ultimate decision that
No,
does-
yeah, that's true. And Aladdin, I would say Aladdin isn't very active in the story, but that doesn't discredit like his skills as a character.
Yeah.
Because like he's very savvy and he's very clever,
Yeah.
and that's kind of established throughout the film.
Yeah.
It's just the circumstances that like move the plot of the film along
Right.
aren't his decisions.
Right, and we can
Right.
talk more
Yeah.
about Aladdin in depth if it were to make it to a future episode.
Yeah, but I would say that he is like that kind of thing at the end very much is like established because the character is so savvy.
Yeah, that's
and
more
clever.
about the character.
Yeah.
Like I agree with what Carter said. It's like
He's sort of thrown into things.
like he's thrown like it is a lot more circumstantial than like just since we just
Yeah.
talked about then Beauty and the Beast. Like Phoenix said, like you could like argue about like the circumstantial and coincidental moments of like any movie, but just like the surface examination of it's like, yeah, since we did just talk about Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin is a lot more.
Well, and like Belle takes a more active role in her story because she goes to like discover.
She
or
confronts
confronts Gaston, confronts the Beast, goes to. So she's definitely taking a more active role, whereas Aladdin's just kind of passively going through it.
He's passively going through it, and he's the chosen
Yeah,
one.
like,
Yeah.
Aladdin's like
Pretty much.
Would it be fair to say that Aladdin isn't as character driven as Beauty and the Beast?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's where that kind of comes from.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Anyone have anything else to say about Aladdin?
yeah. I would say that it's not as character driven as Beauty and the Beast, like you're saying. It has its standouts and like,
Yeah.
but the story revolves around those moments rather than the overall arc in the
Right.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like what Carter said about it
Yeah.
being more like
So
yeah,
The Little
incident
Mermaid?
driven.
Yes,
Yes.
The Little Mermaid.
this one, I would say, with Beauty and the Beast, is like the not as the convention challenging version of the, boy falls in love with girl or girl falls in love with boy in this case, and
But
Prince
where I
Charming
will-
Disney tale. I would say that
It is earlier. So
yeah,
there's not
it
much
is earlier.
convention.
And I
to
will
subvert.
I will say that Ariel at least does take a more active role than Aladdin because the whole movie is based off of Ariel, like making this decision of wanting to be human.
Right. Yeah, it's a story about, somebody wanting agency and then taking that agency and maybe learning from bad decisions that they make with
Yeah.
that. Where I think a lot of the story gets its strengths in this movie is watching Sebastian, Scuttle, and Flounder try to figure out what the hell they're going to do to help Ariel get her voice back. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of fun to watch. I think
Yeah.
it's- And that's where it's, it gets to deviate a little bit from the passive princess story like Cinderella or something, her side character companions.
Yeah. No, this one's definitely more dynamic than like a Cinderella or a Sleeping Beauty,
Right.
which are very traditional by the book, or even Snow White. This one definitely is better than those,
Right.
but I would say perhaps not as I guess challenging as Beauty and the Beast, because like
Right.
Ariel is a more independent character here, but she's not nearly as independent as Belle.
Right.
So, what do you think?
My only real kind of like the first thing that comes to mind about the Little Mermaid were like is just sorry Phoenix, you were gonna say I'll pass it off to you and I'll try to get my thoughts back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just
Sorry,
I'm just kind of still debating on the whole like Beauty and the Beast being more like complex and subverting. I mean, I understand that, but also I don't know if that makes it better than like something else that's just classic, especially when you're talking about Disney stuff,
That's
because
true.
they're subverting itself,
Yeah.
and so
Subversion doesn't always mean better.
That's true.
yeah,
It's
and if it's Disney, it's more just like how well do they do this thing?
Yeah. It's just how much like do you value that?
Yeah.
So that's kind of an on us individual kind of thing.
Yeah. And I would say I don't know if I would even. I think personally, I guess this is a little going back to Beauty and the Beast, but
No,
I
go
think
for it.
personally, it's not. It's like it's subversive and different and a little more complex, but it's not that much to get like maybe a lot of not a lot of praise for, but it's it's still very similar.
It is very similar. It's not.
It's a little change.
Like
Yeah.
it's like I said, like it's the same overall story and plot structure. It's still a fairy tale,
Yeah.
like almost every Disney movie. It just changes the tropes around a little bit.
Yeah, I guess so. But even then, it's like, I mean, he's still like a handsome prince at the end. So it's like, is it even? It's like the movie's like, oh, it's about inner beauty, but then he's like a prince. So then it's still our beauty in a way, and that's just getting into Disney problems and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let's go back to Little Mermaid or whatever. But
Yeah. So what I would say is you have. Once again, you have a little bit. I guess you can. We don't need to get too nitpicky about circumstances because then you're like, well, how was Eric's ship crashing right over Atlantica? And you're like, well, it was. That's
Yeah.
geography. I don't know what to tell you.
Some things you do just have to take at face
Yeah.
value.
Exactly.
yeah,
Well, and with this one, Ursula's not dissimilar from like Jafar, in that she really just kind of wants power. I think she's perhaps a little more clever than Jafar about how she goes about doing it.
Yeah.
Because Jafar kind of just he has this whole plan to get the lamp, and then he fails, and then he just kind of happens to get the lamp at the end.
Right.
And we talked about that.
Yeah.
Antagonist.
Yeah.
But okay, I think I figured out what I was trying to say. But like Ursula, like this, like the story is like about like Ariel like trying to get agency, and it's going, like we see it's like, oh, it's because of these choices that she's making is why these things are happening. But then like Ursula just kind of like pops up and is like, oh, hey, here, and then that's what kind of gets the rest of the story going. And like that, for some, like to me, just like thinking about the other films that we're talking about, it stands out a little bit because like Jafar, like you see Jafar from the get-go, you see Gaston from the get-go. We'll talk about the other movies, but like Ursula is like, she just kind of, and we talked about this in Antagonist, she just kind of like shows up at this random point in the movie and you don't see her all that much. And so I don't know, I feel like there's just something about that just kind of stands out to me. It's like, oh, here's the villain. Okay, she's gone.
it's like an
Here's
imbalance in the story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it feels like that stands out to me as kind of an imbalance.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I think it works if you look at it as a story about agency, though. And that's because, like, she's given a false sense of agency from Ursula. Like, she's given legs, but she can't do nearly as many things as she was able to do before she, is given this false sense of agency. So maybe, like, yeah, if you're looking at it at face value, but I feel like if you read it as, like, one cohesive story, especially about, like, this search for agency and stuff, I feel like I've said it a lot, but
I think
I was talking more about just how like the story unfolds, not
Yeah.
what the story's about, just how it progresses.
yeah,
like,
I just feel like it's smoother when you think of it that way rather than being like, and then the sea witch shows up,
To
and then
your,
the sea
to
witch
your point
disappears.
about Ursula just kind of popping up, I had always kind of viewed the movie as like, even because you kind of see it, but you don't see it a lot. But I'd always kind of seen it as like Ursula watches Ariel, and then like that's when she sees she's most vulnerable
Yeah, and we talked about that
and
too.
starts to strike. So I think this one at least Ursula has more forethought. It's not like she just randomly popped up.
I
it's
know,
like,
and I get that, and so it's like, yeah, the face value, like I do accept, like, oh, she is this person that is around, but again, it's just like comparing it to the other movies.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, yeah, she's been watching, but it's like, are you telling me this is the only time Ariel has ever been this vulnerable, or like there's nobody else, or
Yeah,
so, but then that might be getting a little too nitpicky about it.
Yeah, I mean, like all of these movies, I think their stories definitely like work. I don't think anyone here is gonna say that these stories don't work.
yeah.
But
No.
when we have these kind of movies and stuff, it has to get into even if it still works, can it be better? And that's like kind of what we're having to dive into. And I agree. Like it's weird how she is gone for a lot of it, and they don't even like, I guess, necessarily show like that she's planning to come back or whatever. She's just gone and then comes back, if that makes sense. So like it could, you don't forget that she's there, but it's a weird imbalance. Like you go a long time without it, and I think just from a structural standpoint, it's very odd, and it could be tweaked better.
yeah.
Yeah.
it
can
gets
be
more,
better.
it gets lost in just the love story, and then
Yeah.
it doesn't.
Well, you have the because you have the love story, and you have Sebastian and friends trying to like
Yeah.
help Ariel out,
Yeah.
and Les Poissons. Like you have a lot of stuff that still happens. It's not like just because Ursula disappears for a bit.
Yeah.
Like, I was just saying, like, that's something that sticks out to me as
Yeah.
like kind of a big imbalance. Like, that doesn't discredit all the other stuff that happens.
Yeah, I see it. I see what you're saying about it as an imbalance. I don't know if it messes up any pacing or anything like that for me. Like, yeah,
That it sounds like we're getting more into the more subjective kind of.
Yeah, that's
area,
exactly-
But that's neither.
That's
here
what we
nor
get
there.
into when we start voting later.
Yeah.
But,
Atlantis.
Atlantis.
All right.
Atlantis
Finally,
Empire?
a
Atlantis.
extremely complex story. To a degree.
To a degree.
To
yeah.
a degree.
Compared to the other ones.
I mean,
To a very large.
for
degree.
Disney, I guess.
Yeah.
This is one where. So, my issue with it is I feel like there's the search for Atlantis,
Yeah.
and then you're given a lot of information all at once, and then it's over. Like, at least to me. And that like you get to Atlantis, and then you have to learn everything you can about Atlantis in a span of 15 minutes before the last 30-minute battle or whatever. I don't know how it exactly comes out time code wise or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same about Atlantis, like Aladdin, where it's just like, I mean, what is this about? It's just like, they go and then, it like, stuff, like, goes down and then it's over. There's no, like, real, takeaway or kind of, like, layered
I
thing
would say
over it.
This one's more about, like, because it's established early on that this mission to Atlantis is this guy's Milo's life's work. And then it was also his father's life's work. And so it's like this whole journey of this son trying to fulfill his father's like dream and like that whole kind of thing going through it. And there's this whole journey to this kind of, undiscovered place. Is this even a real place? And then they get there and then it's, having to save this civilization that's kind of doomed.
Yeah, but that's still not anything layered. That's just more of his motivation.
Yeah.
Like we're saying how, if Little Mermaid's like, there's a
Little
thing of
Mermaid's about
agency, Beauty and the Beast is about inner beauty.
About inner beauty.
Yeah. Atlantis and Aladdin are kind of just stories again.
That's true.
Yeah. Like.
Which is, I mean, again, not
Yeah.
necessarily something to knock, it's just something to consider.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I would just say, like, comparatively to Aladdin, Atlantis is perhaps a little more dynamic of a story.
Yeah.
There's more components to it. There's more stuff that happens.
What I will say is, if we have an imbalance with Ursula showing up in The Little Mermaid, we definitely have an imbalance with Rourke in this film. Like,
Yeah.
Rourke very quickly turns, and you don't have any reason to believe that we've talked about it as a strength with these side characters and with Rourke is that they're drawn in cold ways that they could be evil or they could be good guys, and we're led to believe that they're good guys for the entire time, and then very quickly he becomes the bad guy.
But I wouldn't fault that because that's a twist. So it's like...
It's a twist,
because
but
because with Ursula, she's the bad guy, and so it's not a twist.
Bad girl.
Or bad girl. It's just not. It's she's just like not very well evenly distributed throughout the movie. Like Rourke is the bad guy, but it's because of a sudden twist that you learn this. It would have given away if they had shown he was the bad guy at the beginning of the movie.
Right, but I feel like there's still very little that builds to the twist. Like it feels very sudden.
That's how a twist works.
That's not always
That's
how
not,
a
that's not,
That's
I don't
not
agree
how
with
a
that.
twist
Not
works.
always.
A
Not
twist you should
always,
be able
no.
to. I feel like a good twist you should be able to put together the piece, or at least like when it happens, look back and go, "Oh, I see how that." I
mean-
see the elements of it beforehand.
Yeah.
Like
And they do piece some of it out. I don't think it's the most sudden twist, but I don't think it's necessarily. It's not the same problem that Ursula has. I think with like a villain imbalance.
Yeah, I just think the story is, I guess, a little unfocused. Just because it's like how you said, it's like the whole thing is to find Atlantis, and then at the end it's just like to save it.
To save Atlantis, yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily. I don't see that as like I see like finding Atlantis being like maybe a story or like that's the purpose.
Yeah.
And then or saving it being one, but the fact that it's just both is like why it's just cramming too much in. I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, to springboard off of that and combine it with what Robbie was saying earlier, like there is just like there's so much that they do in this movie, and they try so hard to focus on both parts that like they both kind of suffer to an extent
true.
for it. Because you said like, oh, like this is about like Milo, like this has been Milo's dream, this was Milo's grandfather's dream, and all this. But you're just like thrown into it, and it's like, okay, why should I care about Milo? Tell me about Milo. Let me get to know Milo so I can care about his quest. It's just, oh, this is what Milo wants, and nobody likes him because he's a nerd. Or something like that. And it's like, oh, we're going to, like, okay, Milo wants to find Atlantis. Okay, Milo's going to go find Atlantis. Oh, no, the sub got destroyed. Okay, they're still going. Oh, they found Atlantis. Okay, now they got to save Atlantis. And there's just so much that you never, like, they don't spend any time to, like, let you, like, they have this amazing world that looks so good, but they never, like, take the time to like build it up or let you get invested in it. It's always just one.
That's true. It is.
It's always just one thing after another. And we talked about this in I think the first episode. How this is like one of like the darkest, like most like mature things. But it's like the way it plays out is very just like, oh no, they gotta save Atlantis, and it's like it just goes so quickly that it's like, okay, like this is a dark theme. Like this is genocide. This is wiping out an entire culture. But the way that it plays out and the way that it's paced and everything, it's just like it just comes off as the, oh, we got to save the city. It's like, oh, the Simpsons movie, oh, we got to save Springfield, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
I will say that it's very, I would agree that it's very kind of like the whole movie is very plot driven. Like it's all right, and now the next thing. All right, and now I have to go on to the next thing, and then all right, here's the next thing. It's not, there isn't very much time to like, you know, stop and smell the roses, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah, and that's kind of my biggest negative on it. Or
yeah.
Because like,
no, that's a very valid criticism.
This movie takes a lot from other great adventure movies like Indiana Jones and stuff like that, which I would say in Indiana Jones you have a similar thing where it's like we find the Ark of the Covenant and then we gotta save it from the Nazis, but like I feel like it's much more integrated in like stories like that. So in something you're emulating, but you can't quite pull off that subtle switch there.
Yeah.
Because then if it feels a little jarring to like feel like there's two segments of the film.
And then just like then when they get to Atlantis, it's like, oh, we gotta learn to speak the language. Okay, we can speak the language. It's like, oh, let's learn about Atlantis, but only a little. Oh, like, okay, we found out like the super secret history of Atlantis. Oh no, now people are evil. Oh no, now the king's dying. Oh no, now Rourke's gonna explode. And it's just like, there's just so much, and it's like just, I just feel like there's just some like it's not bloated, but there's definitely like just like a hair too much like trying to happen.
It's just unfocused, like
or
like without there's no real direction or whatever. It's just doing stuff, which is like, I mean, it's an adventure movie, so it can do that for a little bit because you kind of have to like explore a lot. It kind of has to be a little like just next, but I think it loses some of its like it loses some of that feeling and like of enjoyment when they're already there, and then it's still just next because then it's like, well, the adventure's technically over, so like why is it still just I don't know.
No, I totally get what you're saying.
I would say I don't necessarily agree that it's unfocused because I think the focus of the movie is finding and saving Atlantis. That like collectively is the focus of the movie. So I wouldn't say it's unfocused because it's not like they get to Atlantis and then like, oh, we got to go somewhere else now.
Like it's like maybe not unfocused, but it's definitely not like it's not super fleshed out.
Yeah.
It's like they like I said earlier, like they have this world, but they don't build.
It's
the world.
storyboarded, not screenplayed. Like if that makes sense. Like
it's not dissimilar from like you were saying, Raiders of the Lost Ark, in that like ultimately Atlantis is not necessarily the MacGuffin as much as the heart of Atlantis is, because that's like the equivalent to the Ark of the Covenant. Because they're stealing that and taking it away, and then they have to go and save that. Like, that's how they save Atlantis, is to save this item. So it's essentially the same thing as, like, the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah. But what I would say is that, like the Ark of the Covenant or the Holy Grail.
No, because those all have build-up, and then the Heart of Atlantis is very much introduced and then stolen promptly after it's introduced and explained.
It's like Robbie and Phoenix would say it's just thing after thing after thing.
And it is a very exposition-heavy movie.
I think...
And that comes with, that's an issue that it sets up from the beginning, is that we don't have any idea what Atlantis is like beforehand. And so, by no fault of its own, like, they couldn't have really cut between Atlantis and the search, because that would have just
They
I
just-
think that would have felt worse than.
They just had to establish an entire culture in basically 15 minutes of
Right.
movie. Because that whole movie's only
an hour and 35
Yeah,
minutes.
it's
I just looked at
an
that.
hour and 30
it's
minutes.
not
so
a long movie.
It's not very long, and so yeah, they very much
Yeah.
had to explain a great deal in a very short time.
And I think that's why it works better in something like Raiders, where you have that extra 30, 45 minutes.
Right. And that's the issue I would say is when we're comparing it to other films, which at this point, other than Pirates of the Caribbean, are all in that
Yeah.
hour and a half, 89 minutes to 2
Yeah.
hour range. Just some of these movies make better use of their time than
Yeah.
others.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of pirates, anyone else have anything to say on Atlantis?
I think I got it out. I think we talked
I
about
think
it.
that's it.
So let's talk about Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black
Yeah.
Pearl. Yeah. What do we have to say
Like,
about it?
I feel like
Just everyone.
Everyone suddenly was like, "Yeah,
no,
this
like,
is a great
yeah,
thing to
it's
talk
just-
about."
I feel like it's a little unfair because this is
This is a very-
PG-13 live action movie that's like 2+ hours long.
This is a very full-fledged
Yeah.
like it's
and
an
developed
film. It's
film.
an actual film, so it's,
It's a-
like
yeah.
it's a little unfair.
It's a little, which again we go back to like luck of the draw kind of
Yeah.
thing. This one it kind of works out because this is a very well developed, full scripted movie with a
Right.
dynamic story with twists and turns.
But that's
Yeah.
to its advantage.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and I think it's set
We
up
can talk
well at
about
the
films with
beginning.
similar
I'm-
runtimes, like we had Mary Poppins earlier in
Mm-hmm.
the season, that also has a 2-hour, 20-minute runtime, and I think this movie does.
This movie does the
Yeah.
story better.
Like, yes, yes.
Especially when you compare it to something Atlantis, where we feel like the fault is its time or its runtime.
Yeah, if Atlantis had been the same length as Pirates,
then
You could
probably
have had
would
something
have
really
it would have
big.
a lot more stuff to
yeah,
do.
I feel like
Yeah.
Atlantis would be like because Atlantis is kind of a cult movie
Yeah.
at this point. Like I feel like it wouldn't be a cult movie if it had that extra
Yeah.
time to it.
Well, and the thing about Atlantis too, I mean, comparatively to Pirates, is I think if it had had the time to breathe, like we were talking about,
Right,
because like this movie, Pirates has a lot of like to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, but they take scenes and time to like sit and like think about what's happened,
Yeah.
reflect on
And
the
there's
situation.
a lot of stuff that's like set up at the
Yeah.
beginning too, that
Yeah.
we are as viewers
Yeah.
ready to go on the
Yeah.
adventure for.
yeah,
And so yeah, there's that scene of like, Will and Elizabeth in the ship and Jack in the brig after the big action scene, and it's really one of those instances where they like take the time to breathe and reflect on the situation. And there are multiple moments like that in the film, and I think that's really what served it more than like Atlantis, and what kind of gives it that sense of or it helps the audience at least with the pacing. They're able to like digest what's happened, and it's not
Yeah.
immediately moving on to the next.
And
thing,
when
so it
you're
doesn't feel
talking
bloated.
about something like Atlantis versus Pirates of the Caribbean, Pirates, I still feel like you kind of have to figure out with the cast where the next location or what the next step is. Whereas some of Atlantis, I feel like you're like, oh, it's all in the book, and when he knows exactly where they need to go, and it's all
I mean, with this
it's
one,
step by step by step.
with this one, I think I would say Atlantis and Pirates probably are two most similar movies on this. Like, well, not like over, but I mean,
no, yeah, I know what you're
most similar to Pirates is
Right.
Atlantis. And I would say that like, yes, you have the book that kind of drives the story along, but you also kind of have, that's kind of like Jack's role basically, is he kind of knows where everyone is and what everyone's doing and why everyone, like what everyone's motivations are. So he's kind of essentially plays that role of like the knowledge keeper to move the story along.
Yeah, but he's the knowledge keeper, and he still has to at least think about
Yeah,
oh,
no.
now we need to go to Tortuga
No,
because
yeah.
obviously
yeah, that's
Whereas
true. But
Milo's book's like, and it should be at the left up here,
yeah,
Yeah, like there's more going on
Yeah.
with Pirates. It's not just Milo reading the book. It's like, yes, Jack is the knowledge keeper, but it's like, oh, Elizabeth got captured.
Yeah.
Oh, now Will like swapped himself out for them, and like there's more to it than
Yeah.
just Jack telling them
yeah.
where everyone is and what all to do. And Pirates also handles its exposition considerably
So much
better.
better,
yeah.
Like just that scene, just where Barbosa and Elizabeth are having dinner, and Elizabeth just tears into that succulent pig, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're cursed, BT Dubs, got gold, I want to eat apples." And it's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Which I would say like Pirates is perhaps one of the best films ever at like establishing a world
Oh,
and
yeah.
establishing
Sure,
characters. Because like Jack Sparrow, his arrival in that movie is one of the best character introductions I
Oh,
think
yeah.
in any movie ever. like, and you just instantly know who that character is, and this movie's very good at like showing, not telling, for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Even though it has to tell a lot, it
But-
still does really well.
Yeah.
And you even get like with the curse when they're like invading Port Royal, and when he like reaches through the jail cell and like grabs Jack, and he's like, oh, there is a curse. It's very interesting, and so you kind of have those seeds planted ahead of time, and so when he goes into the full explanation of what it is and how it works, you have you're kind of prepared for it.
That's very true.
And it also works really. Just they do the show don't tell. Like then at the end when they're at Isla de Muerta, and Jack's there, and he like picks up the pieces of gold and he throws them back, and he's like one by one, and it shows him like pocket the one, and Will sees it, and then like he gets stabbed, and he's like, oh, I'm a zombie. It's like they could have so easily just have it been like, oh, Jack got stabbed, but he's not dead. He'd be like, oh yes, I took a piece of the gold when you were not looking, haha. But they didn't do that. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Gore Verbinski doing a good job.
Gore Verbinski's a good filmmaker.
Yeah, I didn't think that was something that needed to be like confirmed. I thought it was
I'm just singing the praises of Gore Verbinski.
Wait, what else did he do besides Pirates?
Ringo.
Ringo.
No, I never saw him.
The Lone Ranger, which I actually liked. The Lone Ranger.
That has some merits, but we're not talking about that.
No, we're not.
No, maybe another day. Probably not.
Should tweet at Gore Verbinski. See if he'll listen to us.
Maybe. But yeah, Pirates has a really, really good story. It's like we said, it's almost not fair to talk about it in comparison to 90-minute fairy tales.
But here we are.
But
But we can also talk about the way that it still does kind of do the Disney structure.
No, it does, because it's Will is Prince Charming.
Yeah.
Elizabeth is
boy gets
the princess.
girl gets boy, happily ever after.
I have to go find him.
There's just a lot
Jack
more.
Sparrow's like the genie.
Or he's the main
Olaf.
character.
Who knows?
He's
We'll
Olaf
never
from
know.
Frozen.
The world may never know.
He's yes.
But is there anything else on this?
Is there anything negative we can say about Pirates story-wise?
This one, I don't think so. I honestly think the first Pirates movie is one of the closest to a perfect movie.
It's very airtight.
Like, I often consider it to be Disney's best live-action film they've ever made.
I would say
fair.
that's not a
That's
far
not,
off.
Yeah.
This is not hard company. I think their
Yeah.
animated movies are way better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
I don't know. My Date with the President's Daughter.
I don't know. D2 of the Mighty Duck.
Yeah.
We're not talking about that movie anymore.
National Treasure.
It's called a
National
joke,
Treasure.
Robbie.
National Treasure 2,
National
Book of
Treasure
Secrets. National
Well,
Treasure
if
3,
they-
Book of Secrets Volume 2.
Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Well, if there's nothing else, do we want to go on to winners?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But before we vote, real quick, let's thank our sponsors for this episode again. Studio Sweden headphones. They were really sweet to us. They gave us 2 pairs of their Regent on-ear headphones that Phoenix is modeling, even though no one can see them right now. This is an audio only.
They can feel how good it looks.
These headphones, they give you, style as well as quality sound. What do you guys think about them? The two of you have been playing around with them for the last day or so.
It's super quality. When I first got them, I thought they were Bluetooth only. And I was like, oh, it's a little annoying. But they came with a earphone jack, so that's really nice.
Yeah.
So it's
Both.
earphone jack when you want it.
Absolutely.
Bluetooth when you want it, and just it's like they're not noise canceling, but I feel like they might as well be, because when I just had them on and I could barely hear a sound.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah, and I would say they're decently comfortable too.
Oh, yeah.
They're decently comfortable, and for the price, they're really amazing what you're getting. These headphones you've got are only like $99 as compared to, some really expensive other companies. But hey, if you want to get yourself a pair,
candy.
if you want to get yourself a pair of Studio Sweden Regents or any of their other great headphones, great stylish looking, great sounding headphones, go to studio.com and use code FILMFRACAS to get 15% off any of your purchases. That'll let them know that we sent you, and also, get you some headphones for a lot less money.
Mm-hmm.
We've hit the big times. We're the ones giving the discount code.
Let me make sure that is Studio. Yeah, studio.com. Enter promo code FILMFRACAS. All one word, all capital letters. They got so many different choices for you here.
Cool.
We love them. We're so thankful that they're sponsoring this episode.
Yeah.
But let's get back into the show and
Yeah.
start talking about our votes for this week.
Okay.
So
Who wants to go first?
I'll start with my winner of the week. My winner of the week.
I'm gonna guess.
No big
Yeah,
surprise
okay.
here. It's going to be Pirates of the Caribbean. Shockingly. I think this is, as I said, a near perfect film. Pacing wise, everything wise, but the story especially is interesting, engaging. The world they create in one movie. Like, there's so many franchises now that were like they want to be able to create a world as well as Pirates did. Because I mean, if you remember when Pirates came out, there were so many failed films that came out after it trying to replicate that, and they couldn't succeed.
Like such as
King Arthur was one. There was
Even the National Treasure movies.
National Treasure, to an extent, was trying to be like Pirates of
like,
the Caribbean.
I'm not saying you're
That's the
wrong.
same
I'm
concept.
just curious because I can't think of any.
No, that's because none of them succeeded.
Would you say like the Russell Crowe Robin Hood?
No, because that was 2010.
But still, like, there's
But
a lot
yeah.
of early 2000s.
There's a lot of early
Okay,
2000
like,
stuff that
oh.
came out immediately after Pirates of the Caribbean that tried to
I'll take your word for it.
bank on it. Because like King Arthur even had Keira Knightley in it and Clive Owen and
Oh, how about
Yeah.
that?
yeah.
How about that?
But hey, they do it better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Phoenix, what's your vote?
I was thinking this over, and I think I'm also gonna go with Pirates of the Caribbean. It's pretty solid. Didn't really. I mean, I don't think any of us really had any negatives in it. Nothing. There's nothing glaring and nothing even like small to, I guess, bring up. I think the story is one of its strengths for sure. I don't love it as much as Carter does, but I mean, when you present it, when it's good in a certain category, it's good in that category. And I think Pirates of the Caribbean, as far as story goes, best the other four.
For sure. I am also going to vote for Pirates of the Caribbean. Like we talked about, this is just not a fair category for some of the other movies. Not that any of them suck in comparison to Pirates, but I mean, Pirates is just so good. It's a lot of fun. It's an engaging story. It makes 2.5 hours feel like 30 minutes, and I love it.
I'm gonna vote for Beauty and the Beast, actually.
Ooh.
Just because I do really appreciate how it kind of switches those tropes around and subverts things just a little bit. And I also do like how everybody's fate is so like entwined and like central to the story, and just it like even though it is a tale as old as time, it's like this is what.
We're just laughing at you.
Yeah, I love it, the pun.
You're not the one who usually makes the
What
references like that.
What pun?
Tale as old as
Oh,
time.
the tale's old. Oh, it's yeah. But like, even though it
Did you
is,
not mean that?
like, I wasn't meaning to make a joke out of it. I had a point.
He's trying to be
Sorry.
sincere, Phoenix, and you ruined it.
It sounded like
Ruined
I'm
it.
sorry. Go
But no,
ahead,
I'm like,
continue.
even though it is a tale as old as time, like the way that Disney did it just kind of makes it like the almost like most iconic, like most definitive version of the story, even though that story's been around for much longer than just since 1991. And so just yeah.
All right. So as every movie wins, there must also be a loser. A movie to say a bit of fond farewell from the castle.
Yeah? You want to go in the same order?
Yeah. I'm struggling.
Would you like us to go in reverse order?
No, I think I have one in mind, but I'm not happy about it.
Uh-oh.
Because it's my favorite Disney movie, and that just seems wrong.
Interesting.
I'm going to vote Aladdin today. And that's because I think I was between Aladdin and Atlantis. And I think where the difference is Aladdin doesn't have enough story and Atlantis has too much for its own good, basically. And I would ultimately, when it comes down to it, I'm like, I think having too much story is better than having not enough. So I kind of have to say Atlantis. I think he kind of, Aladdin himself just kind of goes through the story, and just gets a lot of like really convenient and circumstantial help, and it's just like, oh look, now you have a genie, look at that, and then that kind of itself a genie, like we talked about, is kind of a built-in Deus Ex Machina, and so he himself is also kind of very convenient for Aladdin to accomplish the rest of his goals. And it's like, that's not really a fault, because that's what the movie's about, is like this story of Aladdin, and like you said, it's just a story. So, but I think comparatively between those two, I gotta say goodbye to Aladdin, which hurts me because it is my favorite Disney movie.
All right, strong words.
Artie Zamboni?
Yeah. I was also deciding between the same two, but I don't know if it was that hard for me. I'm voting off Atlantis, just because, personally, I don't agree that it has less story. I just think it's a simpler story, but I think in its simple story, it's executed a lot better than Atlantis, which tries to do a lot, but just doesn't succeed on all cylinders or whatever, not firing on all cylinders. And there's something about Atlantis that like just doesn't pull me in from the story. I don't know if it's because I feel like it's a little like unfocused, or I feel like it wanders too much, or it doesn't know like where it wants to go necessarily. Just something about it just like doesn't grab me story wise, and I don't feel as connected. Whereas I can't say that about Aladdin. Like, even though things are circumstantial and it's got some like hiccups in terms of like actual story progression, I feel very connected, and like I want to see where it's going, and then by the end I feel pretty satisfied. Whereas Atlantis, I'm like, I just feel like the movie finished and I now see the end of the story. I don't necessarily feel satisfied, but for Aladdin I do. So for that I got to do Atlantis.
Okay. For my vote, I was also deciding between Atlantis and Aladdin. And what it came down to me, I think my, instead of doing like a pro-con list in my head or something like that, I thought back to, I watched both of these movies to death in my childhood. And what I started thinking about was, before I rewatched both of them for this season, what what I could have remembered about them beforehand. And while I pretty much beat for beat could have told you Aladdin, I could have told you a few cool moments from Atlantis. And I think we talked to death about the problems with with whether it was pacing or just how they switched from finding Atlantis to saving Atlantis. I don't know what is the bigger issue there, but when I started thinking about it, the one that just like I could beat for beat tell you the whole thing was Aladdin. And when Atlantis just doesn't stick like that with me, I had to choose one over the other. So, saying bye to Atlantis this week.
Not necessarily. Brett,
for me.
Oh, okay.
I am.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, there was an implied I am.
You gotta let people finish. You've been having a problem with letting people finish this episode, Phoenix.
I'm sorry. I'm nervous. I have these like cool headphones on, and it makes me feel important.
Ooh, Phoenix, the headphone guys are rolling now.
Materialism.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't recognize me.
I'm
Fame
feeling
changed
good.
you.
Yeah.
My vote is gonna be for Atlantis, just because like Robbie summed it up pretty well. It's like I could tell you beat for beat what goes on in Aladdin. Like Atlantis, I could tell you like a few of the big moments, but it's like, okay, the sub and the Leviathan, Rourke exploding, the fireflies that actually start fires, the side characters.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's kind of like.
Yeah, I can tell you the things that look really cool.
And just
the McDonald's toys.
Yeah.
That's what I started thinking about.
McDonald's toys.
But just like Aladdin's simplicity in this case works to its advantage.
That's true.
And you talk about like the genie being a built-in Deus Ex Machina, except like the genie does have like his own personality, and like he's not just there for Aladdin. Like genie's possession and like him getting tossed around also drives the story. Whereas like we said earlier, Atlantis is just kind of Milo with all the exposition, the Deus Ex journal, just like, oh, we got to go left here. Oh, we got to go here. Oh, we got to go there, kind of thing. And just the way like all the characters are involved in the story of Aladdin just works out better, I feel like, than the way all the characters work out in the story of Atlantis. And just in this case, the simplicity of Aladdin is a little bit better than the over exposition of Atlantis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And with that,
We're saying bye to
Saying
Atlantis.
Saying goodbye to Atlantis.
yeah, out of our kingdom.
Farewell, Atlantis, the Lost
Farewell.
Empire.
of sad. It lost again.
It's
Lost again.
Where'd it go?
I can't find it.
It's gone.
Oh, well, at least your favorite movie stayed.
I know.
Yeah. you got
I
that.
wasn't necessarily happy about voting off Aladdin. But that was just kind of how it felt for me. Y'all were, when you were talking about remembering it, I was just because a movie's more memorable doesn't necessarily mean it's got a better story, but that's another conversation.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
I feel the
But
same. But
what I was saying is, like, when I have to choose between
Yeah.
those two, I have to start going to,
Yeah. Like I said, because, like, if we were picking favorite movies, I would have picked Aladdin because it's my favorite Disney movie.
Right.
But guys-
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
we're down to the final four.
Down to the
Down
final,
to the final four.
Yeah,
Man.
and in our next episode, you'll see mermaids, pirates, beasts, and genies.
There you go.
There you go.
And parrots.
Yeah.
Jafar.
Killing
Hey, Carter,
me.
you want to make some recommendations and give
I
your
can,
social media
yes.
handles out?
You can find me on Twitter at @CASpilliards, like spill something in your yard and an S. And let's see, what will I be recommending today? This is neither a movie nor a TV show, but I have been playing a lot of
Excuse
it
me?
recently. Kingdom Hearts. And I've been playing the first Kingdom Hearts because I'm playing through all of them before the third one comes out.
This isn't video game Fracas.
I
Carter.
know, but it is uniquely
okay.
it is uniquely related to what we're talking about right
Fine.
now. And so I'm not actually going to recommend the first one because I don't really like it that much, but I will highly, highly recommend the second one. So please play Kingdom Hearts 2 if you haven't yet. Try and play it before the third one comes out. It's a lot of fun. One of my favorite games ever.
You find me on Snapchat at Brett JHNSN1. Post a review of a movie as close to every day as I possibly can. You can see it if you disagree or agree. You can let me know. We'll talk about it. I tried plugging myself on the Demon Trash podcast. They had a very hard time figuring out what I was saying, and I had to spell out my entire Snapchat name for them. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, my recommendation for the week is going to be Dario Argento's Italian horror film Suspiria. It is one of the coolest looking, coolest sounding horror movies out there. That is a movie that is not remembered for its story.
Nope.
That movie is all about its set pieces and music, which is 10 out of 10. It's so good. Highly recommend.
This week, hold on. I'm Robbie _DeShazer on Twitter and Instagram. Go follow me there. I try to post things that people like. This week, I'm going to recommend the documentary Back in Time. It's about the movie
choice.
Back to the Future. It's a lot of fun. If you like the documentary about Trekkies, but want a less intense version of that, that's exactly what this is. It's about people that really love that movie and about how that movie's nearly perfect. But it's a good watch. If you love Back to the Future, definitely check it out.
I am at BombAssPhoenix on Twitter. Please follow me there. I hope I tweet things you like. If you're listening to this the day it comes out, this is the 30th, which means Netflix has just dropped season 5 of Arrested Development, and I'm going to recommend that because I'm going to be watching it while you're watching it right now if you take my advice and go to
In that
watch
case,
it.
I'm recommending Solo. I'm seeing it.
I'm seeing it tomorrow. I hope it's good, but we'll all go watch it.
This is not the first time that I've done that. I also did that
I
for the
know.
Chris Gethard show. I was
I think
like,
you
I
did
haven't
it
seen
for-
it
You
yet.
did that with Legion.
Oh, and it was Legion. I had seen the Chris Gethard show. But yeah, Legion, which also great if you haven't seen that. Second recommendation. But again, haven't seen the season 5, but I'm recommending it already.
All right.
Okay.
Well,
That's
thank you
that's
guys
gonna
so
do
much.
it for us.
This has been a good week. Real quick, thank you to Studio Headphones again.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
feeling real legit with that. Go buy merch at teespring.com/stores/film Fracas and use our Amazon affiliate link in the show notes below to give us a little bit more support. Other than that, what a fun, exciting,
Yeah.
and thrilling,
Thrilling.
nail-biting episode of Film Fracas. We'll be back at you again next week with another exciting episode.
Well,
Thanks so much.
another episode.
Well, thanks, Brett.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Film Fracas. We know there are a lot of shows on the web, and we are so glad you took the time to listen to ours. Thank you Brett Johnson, Robbie DeShazer, and Phoenix Zarola for helping to write and produce each episode of the show. There's no team behind Film Fracas, it's just us, so consider giving us a 5-star review wherever you listen. It really does help get the word out. You can follow the show on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Film Fracas. Once again, thanks for listening, and we can't wait for you to hear our next episode.